My brother Martin never bragged. Mother and Dad taught us us children to do good for others. They told us not to be all puffed up and proud about doing what was right. So even though Martin got a load of attention for speaking out, he couldn't have imagined how many people would come to the Great March on Washington for jobs and freedom in 1963. But come they did. Some of them rode the bus, others came on the train. Some walked from Brooklyn more than 230 miles away. They all came to the Washington Monument just as the sun began its slow pop dance across the sky. They came to hear Martin. They came because they believed that all people should be treated equally. They came because they wanted to belong. They came in search of one thing, freedom. They came to march. Martin traveled to Washington, D.C. the night before he gave his speech. He spent the night in a hotel working on his speech. He could not rest. He spent the morning reading his speech partly to make sure it conveyed the message he wanted his listeners to hear. Then Martin washed his face, put on his best dark suit, even though it was a hot summer day. He was prepared with his best clothes for the public appearance. Martin met up with the organizers of the match. Together, they headed over to the Capitol to talk to the delegation from Congress about passing a law that would have black people treated the same as white people. While Martin met with the leaders, marchers gathered at the foot of the Washington Monument. Singers sang songs of freedom, and when most people had come together, they started to march towards the Lincoln Memorial. People from different religions walked arm in arm. Black people held hands with white people. Even though they were from very different worlds, they were marching for the same reason. It was a sight to see. Finally, somebody rushed into the room where Martin and the other leaders were meeting. "Dr. King, look out the window." Martin rubbed his eyes and peeked through the curtain. He could not hardly believe what he saw. There was a blanket of people walking shoulder to shoulder. They looked like patches of color in a gray quilt spread over the National Mall in Washington. There were thousands. They were all chanting, waiting, and ready. Martin and the other leaders hurried down to the street to join the other marchers. The sea of marchers parted for Martin and his friends. Martin didn't pay much attention to the police or armed guards who'd been sent to keep order. He wasn't worried either about the angry people who yelled at him and made mean faces. Some of those people hoped Martin and the marchers would be scared off, or they would be upset enough to say and do bad things back. But Martin didn't scare easily. He and his marchers practiced non-violence. They came to Washington with love in their hearts, not hate. As a preacher, my brother knew how to influence a crowd. He knew that one of the best ways to get the folks to listen was with a good song. Martin saw his friend, the legendary gossip singer Mahalia Jackson. He stepped over to her and whispered, "We need a song, Mahalia." And oh, did Mahalia sing. She let loose on an old slave spiritual. The song was slow and sad, but also defiant. It was just the kind of song Martin thought would help remind people why they were gathered together on that hot summer day. Mahalia's magnificent voice rolled over the National Mall in Washington like a soft thunder. The marchers were moved to shout, "Sing, Mahalia, tell it like it is." Then Martin stepped on the podium and looked out, taking in the precious sight of so many eager people staring back at him. As soon as Martin began to speak, he found a rhythm that was all his own. There was no stopping my brother. He wasn't looking at the words he had written the night before. His speech took on a course all on its own. His friend Mahalia shouted, "Tell them about your dream, Martin." And he did. And words so vivid, you could almost see the mountains in Colorado, the slopes in California, the molehills of Mississippi. He spoke to the people of all colors, from all nations getting along, working together and standing up for freedom. My brother Martin had a dream. He shared it with the marchers. He shared it with the nation and the world. Martin's words were as loud as thunder. Today he was on fire. He was giving the type of speech that moves people to tears. My brother was making history. He was changing the world. He was reminding everyone that we are all from a great nation that believes in liberty. And that is the only way to move forward. I got chills listening to my brother speak. We knew that a change was surely going to come. Martin in his dream had inspired people to help make that change happen. There was so much hope in Martin's speech, hope for all of us, hope for the whole world. On that day, my brother and all those who marched on Washington taught us all about the power of words and how important it is to work together and raise our voices to speak up. It is a day that will last in the hearts and memories of all Americans. That beautiful quilt of people standing tall, taking a stand, making a difference for you, for me, for us all.